Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. LB, Dan Potts, back with me again. How are you, gentlemen?
Oh, good, man. Yeah, good.
Good. I've been looking forward to this. I enjoyed last week. One of my, said to KJ afterwards, my favourite show I've done in months.
Wow. We'll take that.
And a lot of people are asking, are we brothers?
A compliment or what?
But yeah, I would. I mean, a lot of people are asking if we were brothers. I was like, I know.
Wow.
It was interesting.
I tell you what, though, when brothers fight, it can go off, man. You know what I mean? So we need to be careful there, boys.
And every sort of large family of white kids, there's always like the outcast ginger. So Dan Potts it could be that for us. So it's
that's a bit of an Ed Sheeran beard going on. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'll take that.
Well, my beard's getting more ginger as I get older. I don't know why.
I've given up with it now. It's definitely ginger mine. Yeah.
No, listen. I always say this to my kids. Like, the only thing I'd ever get rid of any of you for is being ginger. It's one of them ones. It's I'm only messing. Viewers, hit like buttons. Subscribe to the Football Terrace as well. I want to start with Man City today because it's been an interesting week. We spoke last week about the Everton situation, Forest being fined and everybody calling out City. Since then, a lot of things have kind of happened. The head of the Premier League spoke to the MP stating your trial date has been set. You had more leaked emails come out that, according to the journalists who shared them, were talking about yourselves essentially, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but trafficking into the UK underage children into your academy. Then there's the news that's come out that you obviously told me about, LB, that Pep Guardiola is set to stay at City, even if you're found guilty and put into the Conference North. Omar Barada has left and people are putting 2 and 2 together and getting 362, that this means City are guilty. Rivals are out here now calling for you guys to be stripped and to be relegated. It seems like it's been a bit of a crazy week for Man City, considering that you haven't really done anything right now.
I don't know. Well, no one's stripping me. I can tell you that for nothing, bro. Let's not go there, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's been mad. But I'll tell you why it's mad, yeah? It's because and not just opposition fans. Everyone wants an outcome. Everyone wants City fans want to find out what the outcome is. Yeah, opposition fans want to find an outcome, and it has taken a long time. And of course, there are many reasons for that. And then of course, on top of that, you've got the whole Everton stuff and Forest stuff, which has been, a lot of that's been like mass misreported in the media, which has made this whole situation worse. But it's frustrating for everyone. Everyone wants to know what's going on. You know what I mean? The club are saying they're innocent. So if you take that at face value, the club probably want this sorted as well because it's hanging over them. The Premier League obviously feel they've got a case, so they want to prove their case because, of course, because obviously something that not a lot of people spoke about, but if we do get not guilty, huge questions are going to be asked about the Premier League. So they want an outcome. Fans want an outcome, and it's frustrating for everyone. So listen. It winds up a lot of people. A lot of people get emotional about it. You just gotta wait, and that's what I said last week. We just gotta wait for the decision.
When's the date, LB? When's the date?
They reckon that the trial's going to start in autumn, but then it's like, how long does the trial actually start? How long? Well, you don't know when it could be a week, could be 2 weeks. I mean, you're going into like corporate fraud allegation. I don't know. I imagine that's going to take a long time. You're going to have witness statements. You're going to have all sorts. You have financial records. And obviously, as we all know, this is spanning, 8 years or something? So, I mean, how long's a piece of string? I reckon it could take... I reckon the actual trial will take at least a month. At least, in my view. It's too complex for it to be done in a short space of time. So, yeah, it's going to take a while, bro.
If the Premier League was to use their head, and they could make some money out of this, they should launch their own app and then charge people to watch the court case. I reckon a lot of people would tune in. The one thing that's come out in the last week, though, that I did think, and maybe City don't care about optics, but I do think they're important because, yes, you don't know how the QCs are going to take this. You don't know how the trial is going to take this. I was looking at the thread that came out from the journalist last week, whose name now eludes me. I'm going to go back and get his name right because I don't want to get it. I was going to say Nick Harris. I'm not sure if it's Nick. It might be Nick. Did you say that prick?
No, I said that's him, but some City fans might say that.
Yeah. Nick Harris. That City during this process have actually put up petitions to stop journalists even having access to legal documents and hearings and everything else. And in the UK, rightly or wrongly, whenever any kind of party tries to suppress media access, it never goes down particularly well. And there could be good reasons for that. They might want there, but there's also the theory that, well, why would you want the press to not have access to all this information if you were innocent? Surely if you have unequivocal, undeniable evidence that proves your innocence outright, surely you would want the media to have access to that, or am I misreading that slightly?
No, listen, I think first of all, the Premier League also wanted to keep this in house. The Premier League was also fighting for this to be behind closed doors. So this isn't just Manchester City that are trying this, but yeah, I mean, it's something that if you take it down to the simple level, yeah, City is saying they've got irrefutable evidence. The question that always comes at me is, if you've got irrefutable evidence, why don't you just give it them? I can only imagine City are just going off their legal advice. You know what I mean? That they've got to go down this legal route. Now, listen, I don't know. I've said I've never once sat here and said we are 100% innocent. I've never said we are innocent. I don't know. And I think anyone who sits there and says they're guilty or they're innocent, I think both sides. Even when City fans say to me, we're 100% innocent, I say, you don't know that. And I say the same thing to opposition fans. Say, when you are 100% guilty, I say, you don't know that. No one knows. The only people that know were the people that done them deals. Yeah, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens with this outcome. Yeah, and if the outcome doesn't go the way that I want it to go, I have to hold that. Yeah, we'll have to see what the club say, because the club will release a statement and we'll move on and we'll deal with the consequences, whatever that is. But at the same time, if we get not guilty, as I said earlier, serious questions are going to have to be asked about the Premier League, about the people that have brought these charges. You know what I mean? I feel that I've been very, very reasonable and very fair on these things, because, like I say, I don't know. I don't claim to be an accountant. I don't claim to be an investigator. I'm going to wait to see what happens. But listen, this is a monumental, historic case. It's the biggest case of football sort of, misdoings or wrongdoings probably in English football ever. So it's a huge case, and we need to wait. And this is, and I say, sorry, I know we spoke about this last week, but this is again why I think people who are mainstream media, the pundits of this world, have really, really let themselves down and let the sort of media down in this country, because some of the stuff that they go on about, like, oh, you should fast track the case. What are you waffling about? What are you talking about? Yeah, Gary Neville said this on his podcast. What are you waffling about? This is the biggest case of sort of wrongdoings in this country in terms of football. You have to let due process take its toll, and you go through to the end. Listen, this has been going on for 6 years. Yeah, with the trial starts in 7 months. Can we not wait 7 months for the process to just go through? Or are that people that desperate to sort of rush it through? Let's just get it done. Let's have no sort. Because I tell you what will happen. Yeah, if we rush it through and then City get not guilty, you know what's going to happen, Terry? People say, oh, they rushed it through. They should have done. So you can't win. Let's just wait and see what happens, man. Do you know what I mean? I'm chill, man. I'm just waiting for the outcome.
I agree with that. I think that the Gary Nevilles of this world asking for it to be fast tracked is ridiculous, because if this is proven guilty, there was the sort of employee of Man City's on TalkSport last week that said, firstly, well, he said this second, but I'll start with, he doesn't believe City will be found guilty. That's his personal opinion. But he said if they are found guilty and the Premier League does have proof, this could have ramifications in the sense of this is widespread conspiracy and fraud, what they've committed. So you have to be absolutely unequivocally sure about everything. Every rock has to be overturned in both directions as well, because any judgment that's passed down on City, and a lot of people have kind of played this down. And the reason why even in the title of this video, we speak about being relegated and being stripped, I do believe if the full extent of the allegations are true, they must be relegated and they should be stripped, because this is going to be the biggest scandal ever in English football history. Because what City have done in the last 10 years is change the landscape of football. And so much of it has been good. The way they operate, the way they run their club. And there's so many natural parts of it that have been brilliant. They've built this, they've got this money in. Right now, that the way that money's entered Man City is being disputed. But the way you operate has changed the standards of other people's clubs. the way in which we view at the way our clubs have been run and the level we want to get to, if all of that's fugazi, it basically it doesn't just smudge City's last decade, it smudges everybody's, because we're all going to be a little bit discombobulated. So this has got huge ramifications that I don't believe can be rushed. You're absolutely right. And the one thing I will say in City's defense, 100%, is I hope people have the same energy if they are proven innocent in these court case, in the national court case, in the trial and in the hearing. If they are proven innocent and we see the evidence for and against, and we say, do you know what? This is a witch hunt. I hope they get as much support as they get condemnation now, because we generally see in life.
That's never going to happen, Terry.
Again, maybe it isn't, but I'll hold those people to account. That's all I can do. You see it in general celebrity life. You know, I remember when Johnny Depp was arrested. He got kicked off films. Everyone said he was guilty. I didn't really care either way, because it's not my business. I wait for the court case. The court case happens. He wins. Suddenly, I feel bad for him now. But within a day, the story wasn't spoken about anymore. It was front page news for like 2 or 3 weeks when the allegations originally happened. So I do hope the same energy is there for City if they are proven innocent. But Dan, I wanted to ask you a question here. There's a statement that's come out, and Rahman has put this up, saying Pep has promised he will not quit City even if the club are found guilty and are relegated. He loves the club. What message do you think that sends, of Pep stating that he won't leave if they get relegated, if they get stripped, if they're found guilty, he'll still stay?
Massive if he stays in Manchester City. I think every rival fan wants Pep Guardiola to leave Man City, don't they, and go do another job, because it gives everybody else a bit of a chance. It goes without saying, Man City are a phenomenal team, and they're even better when he's in charge. He loves the club. I don't know. Does he? I've no idea. I don't think he grew up watching Man City and loving Man City. I think that's a bit crazy to suggest that he loves the club, but maybe he's fallen in love with it over the last few years. I don't know. But when I look at it, if he's staying there, then fair play. If they imagine if they go down, if they do go down to like League Two and he stays with them, that'd be incredible, wouldn't it? You look at this in two ways, Tel, right? You look at this as a football fan, and you look at it as a rival fan, which I suppose yourself and I are, right? As a rival fan, I think I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans and other fans go, yeah, throw the book at them, won't they go down, get relegated, get them out of the league, we don't care. As a football fan, I just want the truth to come out. And actually, if there's something wrong, then actually there should be punishment. And if they've done nothing wrong, you crack on and get on with the game. And actually, there's a lot more for me that I watch football for. I don't watch football to try and make sure that people are stripped of titles and make sure I want to actually try and win for my own accord. Because yesterday on my show, someone said, what about if Arsenal get last year's title and Man City get stripped? I don't want it. We didn't win it. I don't want to be given a title. I want to actually win it and earn it. Yeah. So for me, when people say, strip them of this, strip them of that, I don't actually care what happens to them. I just think it needs to be, if there's a huge if there's a huge amount they've done wrong, there needs to be relevant punishment for what they've actually done. And nobody knows what they've done yet. There's loads and loads of rumors about them. They've done this. They're guilty. I can see it in the chat. A lot of people saying, don't know what they've done. A lot of the chat are going, they're guilty, 100% guilty. Are they? How do you know that? No one has a clue what they've done wrong. So for me, I actually don't want to know what it is they're supposed to have done wrong and what the punishment should be. And if it's points deductions, stripping the titles, putting down in leagues, whatever it be, for me, it needs to be relevant to the punishment for what they've actually done. And as a rival fan, I actually just want to get on with the game and get it done and sorted. I'm with LB. I just want to know what the hell has happened, what they get their punishment for, if any, if they're guilty or not guilty, and then we get on with the game. Because football isn't about this, man. Football is about much more than this. So for me, as a football fan, I just want it sorted. And for me, look at ways in which it can be punished, or if they're not guilty, they crack on with the game, man. That's the way I see it, honestly, truthfully.
So, I mean, I suppose I get where you're coming from. I see it a little differently. It depends on the severity of the guilty verdict, if they're found guilty. Because if they're guilty of pumping hundreds of millions of pounds into the club in those early stages that built them the foundation to be what they are now, I wouldn't be against my club or any other club being awarded the trophies or their trophies being stripped. And then I do care about City being punished in that way, and maybe not them being awarded to other people, because if the impact is that big, then they've distorted the landscape and they didn't deserve to win. It's no different from if Duplessis, who won the middleweight title in the UFC, if he fails a drugs test tomorrow and it turns out he's taking steroids, Strickland would deserve that title back, even though he didn't win on the night. Because if Duplessis wasn't, this is hypothetical, in case anyone's clipping this, if Duplessis was taking steroids or any other performance-enhancing drug, that gave him an unfair advantage. So if you come second place to Man City, say 5 years ago, but it turns out they had £300 million worth of talent in their squad that they wouldn't have been able to afford without circumventing these rules, it wasn't a level playing field that you were operating on. You know, if it turned out forget these allegations, say it turned out last year City had paid the referees to cheat for them, would you want the title? I'm asking, like, would you want the title then?
No, of course not. But that for me, I understand your question, but that for me is different. And the reason it's different is because that's like on the field cheating. Yeah. If you, and of course, this is the problem with the FFP that I have a personal problem with it, is that other clubs can spend more money. So I don't think you're going to see titles stripped, regardless of what happens. Like I said, I personally think they'll be found innocent. As does Stefan, who obviously you referred to before, who was on top.
Why do you think that, OLB? What evidence have you got to say that you are innocent? Why do you think that is the evidence?
You
must
first of all,
to go, I don't think we've done anything wrong. But why are you coming to that conclusion?
Well, just to clarify, I'm not saying whether we're guilty or not. I'm just saying I don't think we'll be found guilty because of the scale of what they're alleging, Dan. They are alleging mass corruption between board members, owners, companies, vice prime ministers of a country. They're alleging that we've effectively lied to auditors. The reason I believe we'll be found not guilty is because they are going to have some monumental evidence which proves that, right? Which they might have. And again, I'm just giving my opinion, and I agree with Stefan, who was on TalkSport speaking about this. What evidence have they got? UEFA didn't have the evidence because obviously Cass overturned the evidence when they spoke about the Etihad deal. So what evidence do they have that's going to prove them? And there's only going to be 3 people, I believe, in the independent commission, 2 solicitors and a finance director. If these guys say that we're guilty based off of this evidence, that has huge ramifications on a footballing basis, on a business basis, on a political basis. That's why, because I just don't think they're going to have the evidence to do it. And again, that's not me saying I think we're innocent.
I understand that. I think it all depends what way the QCs and the solicitors go. So, for instance, we've seen, according to the Times, they said that the emails that the public has seen, that when you read them, allude to part sponsorships being paid by the companies and the rest of it being pumped into the business. The reason why, as much as it is widespread conspiracy, it's not conspiracy through companies like Nike or Adidas or Puma. It's through companies that are heavily connected to your owner in his homeland anyway. That's correct. Why this is why. So I don't think it's a widespread conspiracy. It's like me pumping money into the football terrace through 3 or 4 of my other companies.
Yeah, but for example, like Etihad Airways, I mean, this is a huge company. And whilst you're right, they have some connections to our owners. You're still alleging that one of the biggest companies in, one of the biggest airlines in the world is effectively helping commit fraud.
So I understand that. So this is where I think it's going to depend on what how the solicitors and QCs see it. So this is what I think they'll say. The Premier League will say something like, we believe that the payments that came in from Etihad Airways, for instance, only X amount came in from the airline. The rest of it was topped up by Sheikh Mansour himself. And I'm really boiling this down into basic terms. It's probably going to be more complex than that. What we're led to believe, reading the reports, is that City have been asked to provide evidence that that's not true and that all the money came from Etihad Airways. And thus far, City are saying, well, we're not obliged to show you, so we're not going to. I think it's going to come down to a judgment at that point around, is your refusal to show the payments a sign of guilt, or are you just following the process? And a QC is going to go either way. They're either going to say, well, we think you're not showing us because you're guilty, or we think, well, you're right. You have no legal obligation to show us. The Premier League are offering no further evidence. Therefore, we're siding with you. That's how this is going to, that for me, in a basic sense, is how I think this is going to go. Now, the problem that City have in that circumstance, if they side with the Premier League and say your refusal to cooperate, we're taking as an admission of guilt, there is no appeals process. You can't take this to the court of arbitration. So therefore, the punishment is going to stand irrespective. So that's why I think rivals look at it and say it can go either way like that. So if you do have the irrefutable evidence, that's why the advice of don't show it, just to me as a layman, appears weird, because the judgment could go either way based on that, where if you give the evidence that proves you're innocent, it can only go one way, surely.
Well, yeah. And again, I say as a simple sort of view, yes. But City are obviously being advised by some of the best lawyers around. That's obviously
I'm not saying I know more than them. I'm just based on what I read.
I agree. As a layman, as a simplistic view, City is saying they've got irrefutable evidence. A lot of people, and I get why people are saying it, we'll just show them the evidence then. But obviously, like we also have to use our heads a little bit and say, well, obviously that's probably not just how it works. At the end of the day, the onus is on the Premier League to prove that we have breached what they're saying. That's how law works. If you get accused of a crime, it's up to the prosecution to prove that you've done what they're saying. So I don't know why it's taking so long. Do you know where the Premier League messed up?
Do you know where the Premier League messed up here? I guarantee they're kicking themselves now. They should have brought in all these regulations for profit and sustainability, but they should have put in a clause that says if we believe that there's corruption or misleadings, that we have a legal right to access your books. Because that's essentially what they're asking for, and they're not being shown behind the scenes. What you might find with City is this: they might actually be innocent of what they're being accused of. There might be other things they don't want them to see, if that makes sense. Like, because I do believe that a lot of clubs cook books. I believe that's why no one's buying in January. Because I believe there's a lot of clubs that have been losing more than 105 million under profit and sustainability, and I believe they've been writing lots of things off. And the Premier League's now sitting there saying, "No, we're not allowing you to write that stuff off anymore." Suddenly, no one's spending any money. There's a reason behind that, because people have been doing a lot of creative accounting, and probably maybe they're only spending 25 million on the women's game and 10 million on the kids, but they're claiming they're actually spending 60, 70, 80 million in totality. And now that they're looking, and maybe the Premier League is saying, right, we'll write that off, but we want more information on that. We want more documentation. And the clubs are saying, shit, we can't do that. So maybe it's one of those things when you break it down.
Do you not think though? Just quickly, sorry, Tal. Do you not just think quickly though, LB? Right? Are you? Because you don't seem too bothered or worried by it, right? And that's calm. Like, it's up to you because you don't know the evidence, right? But if 115 people come forward, victims say that this suspect has assaulted me, 115 people, that would worry that suspect, right? Without that evidence, there's no evidence whatsoever. 115 people are saying that. I'd be worried if I'm the suspect. Hang on a minute, 115 people think I've hit them. I don't think I have because I have no evidence, but I'm still bloody worried here because 115 people have said I've done it. That to me would be, as I'd ask, if that was against Arsenal, I'd be like, yeah, man, something's going to happen here. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I hope it ain't bad. But my God, man, 115. If it was 5, I might think.
Well, this is okay. So this is the thing. Yeah, because you can't really use that as the way, because that sort of comparison.
That's the only way I can. That's the only analogy I can think of.
No, I know, but I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Because whilst there are 115, box a few of those off anyway, because some of them are for non-cooperation, which we know City will get found guilty for because we got found guilty for that at CAS. But effectively, it comes down to around 4 or 5 rule breaches, which have happened year on year on year for 8 years. So it's not really. We've effectively broke 4 to 5 rules. Yeah. But we broke them 8 years in a row, right? And then you add on all the non-cooperation charges. That's how you get to 115. So that's why that comparison isn't really right. But to say that I'm not worried, of course I'm worried. I've said this all the time. Of course, I don't want my team to get relegated. Yeah. Now there's a lot of City fans out there who are like, yeah, we get relegated, buzzing. We'll do it all again, and we'll try and get
buzzing. No, they're not buzzing.
No, not buzzing. Okay, maybe not buzzing, but there's a lot. I tell you, a lot of City fans, right? If we get relegated, they're not really crying their eyes out. We'll just go for it again. Yeah, I don't want us to get relegated. Of course, I don't want us to be found guilty. Yeah, but at the same time, Dan, I'm not going to sit here for the next 9 months or maybe a year, maybe 18 months, because no one knows how to, worrying about the situation every single day. You know what I mean? Worrying about with my team. What's the point? You know what I mean? It's football. It's not my real life. You know what I mean? It's football at the end of the day. So for me, I don't want the situation to be found guilty. Obviously, I want us to be found not guilty, but it's got to wait and see, bro.
Yeah. I think if you're found guilty of all of these things, there will be no buzzing, because then it's going to open up doors.
Maybe the wrong thing.
No, I hear what you're saying. No, I get I know what you imply, what you meant by that. But I think that's where it becomes even more interesting, because I think City will then get sued left, right, and centre by other teams and by clubs, and probably by legitimate sponsors and anyone that's associated. That's where, if you guys are found guilty, I think it's going to open up a huge
our board will have to leave. Our board will have to resign. You know what I mean? As good as they've been in terms of like getting us successful. I mean, can you imagine Khaldoon? I mean, this is another thing. Khaldoon Al Mubarak, our chairman, he sits on the board of some of the biggest companies in the world. Do you know what I mean? He does, like, he's always in America doing business deals. You know, he's always at these things doing mad stuff. Like
what
his
I'll
whole
say, though, bruv, and again, I know City fans will take this the wrong way, but we have seen, whether it be in the world of Hollywood with your Weinsteins, whether it's been in your world of sort of celebrity and politicians with your Epsteins, whether it be in the banking world with your Bob Diamonds and your LIBOR scandals and PPI, whether we've all watched the film The Big Short and watched what the American markets did to all the to the mortgage situations that caused the financial crash. We have seen so many scandals in multi-million, multi-billion pound businesses and organizations. If we just remove your tribalism for a moment, that's why City being guilty and real famous and real powerful people being involved isn't a shock, because these scandals come out every year in so many businesses and organizations and sectors of the world. It was always going to happen at some point in football. You look at Barca. I mean, I haven't really kept a close eye on it, but they had half their board and officials arrested not too long ago, if that makes sense, for things that they've been doing wrong. And I'm sure that this is widespread. And I'm sure that City are not the only team that have cooked the books and broken rules. The difference between everybody else's clubs is City have had employees that have printed off emails and given them to journalists, and that's never going to help you at the end of the day. Like, you know, that's never going to help anybody. So I get what you're saying about that's why if you guys do get found guilty of the most serious allegations within this, that's when I would be worried as a City fan, because it could be the end of your football club.
Well, who knows? Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Let me ask you a question, right? Because we've all spoke about this. Yeah, you all know my opinion on it and that. But let me ask you guys a question. If we was to be found not guilty, what do you think the club should do? Because the club have said we are innocent. These are fake charges. Yeah, we have irrefutable evidence. Do you think, because when we got found not guilty at CAS, basically UEFA and City sort of released a joint statement saying, "Oh, it's all done. We're going to move forward. You know, friends and all that kind of stuff." Do you think City can do the same? Or because of the gravity of the accusations, do you think? Because a lot of City fans want City to do something after this. Whether you sue whether you sue someone, whether you go at someone, like they've effectively.
This is the problem, though. When you say sue, again, I'm just putting my layman head on this. The Premier League will just come back and say, "Well, we had these allegations that were made against you.
Exactly.
All we asked you to do was show us they weren't true, and you said no. If you'd have shown us the evidence 5-6 years ago, this wouldn't have happened." And I think that's
now they can't do anything now.
That's why I don't think anything will happen to the Premier League per se, because the Premier League are just asking for information, and City are the ones, to a degree, that have taken it this far by refusing to cooperate, which is what their lawyers have said. So, look, for me, I look at it this way: if they're proven to be innocent, I praise. If we take away these charges, I praise how City operate day in, day out. I praise the quality of people you've employed, the project that you have, the standard that you uphold, the way you're run as a football club. If it turns out the way you've generated the money for that has also been legitimate, you're an absolute beacon of success in this country. And I've said that. I will never allow people to call Pep a checkbook manager. I always push that down. So a lot of people say I've got it in for City, but there's a lot of other areas over the years where I've defended Manchester City. All I can do in this, if you guys were found innocent, is be true to that and say, look, they're innocent of that. The rest of the club is run impeccably well. That's the standard. Now we should be holding all our clubs to that level, and to try and echo it and act in that same way. That for me is what can happen. It depends, though. If it turns out that you provided certain levels of evidence in the court case and the Premier League have ignored it and taken it this far, maybe then you do have grounds to sue them and whatever else it may be. But yeah, look, it's certainly going to be, someone here says defamation of a commercial entity. It depends, though, doesn't it? Again, is it defamation if there's an accusation made and then you refuse to cooperate with that investigation? I don't know. You'd have to ask a lawyer those questions, but I don't think you'll be able to sue the Premier League. By the way, the Premier League has also probably got a clause already that all the clubs have signed to, that if you're investigated by us for wrongdoing, you can't sue us.
Oh, yeah, you'd imagine so.
It probably already exists, to be fair, but yeah, some people will never accept it, though. This here says the league does not have to prove all 115 charges. They just have to prove a couple, and they are going to throw the book at them like you've never seen before, is what Red Square's got to say.
I mean, you know, they need to prove, you need to prove equity funding, through Shapeman. So if they prove that, then you're right, they're going to throw the book at us. But they have to, that's the one that they need to prove.
No, I agree with you. And if the best lawyers can't prove innocence, red flag. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know about that, bro. I don't think that's how law works. When you're speaking about it like this and you're getting at this scale, yeah, I'm not sure that's how it works, bro.
Terry, please watch Britain's biggest football scandal. Lots of proof. Yeah, I've watched that. I've watched it again, though. What I would say about that documentary, it makes City look very guilty, but that's one half the story. What we haven't heard yet is City's response. So once you get I remember watching a show once they did about 9/11, and it was a 2-hour-long a show on Discovery Channel, and the first hour was all about why it was a inside job conspiracy. And by the end of the first hour, I swear to you, like, oh my god, the Americans did it. I was bought in. By the end of the second hour, which is the rebuttal to it, I felt really stupid. It was like, I can't believe I fell for the conspiracy theory. Yeah. You have to hear both sides of the argument fully before you have
Have you watched Making a Murderer? Have you watched Making a Murderer?
Yeah, Making a Murderer.
Have you seen the new one that they've just done?
With Candace? I've watched both. I watched the Netflix one, and then I watched Candace Owens' version.
I bet after that first one, you was like, this guy is not guilty, man. Get him out of it. And then as soon as you watch the second one, you're like, oh, damn, man, I've been scammed. Honestly, it's wild.
I know it's really mad about that. I watched the first time round, and I'm a big lover of animals. I love animals. And when in the first one I heard that he threw a cat into a fire, my response then was, I don't care what they did to him now. I don't care. He threw a cat in a fire. So I was like, even if he was innocent.
The second one makes him sound guilty then? Is this what you're saying?
No, the second one makes him, So it does. Yeah,
the one with Candice. Yeah.
And now it all makes more, when you listen to hers on, I think it's the Daily Wire. I didn't watch it on the Daily Wire. I watched it with Fire Stick, but because I ain't paying for no Daily Wire. But I watched that, and then if you watch the Netflix one, then it's about, okay, well, that one said this one said that. Then you use your own mind to make up in the middle. But yeah, it's definitely. I'll tell you a funny story about that second one, but I can't tell it on air. I'll say it, boys, afterwards. Viewers, hit the like button for us. Please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well if you haven't done so already. Boys, I wanted to move on a little bit. I wanted to ask you a question. Manchester United talks today about Zerbi coming in as manager. Thoughts on that?
Personally, mate, I just think it's same old Manchester United, if I'm honest. I don't think Manchester United are going to change and be serious about winning titles until the Glazers go. I have to be honest. I just think that they're the problem. I look at the ownership and I look at the amount of money they've spent and I look at what it's been allowed to spend on. I look at the Man United side and I think, what? That is billions of pounds worth of squad. What the hell is going on there? And it doesn't seem to me like there's going to be any structure. And if this new guy's coming in and he's trying to bring Ratcliffe, he's trying to bring in Dan Ashworth or Mitchell, whoever it be. For me, Paul Mitchell, even not Phil Mitchell, he's in his EastEnders. Paul Mitchell. If you're going to bring them in and you're going to try to sign players like Choupo-Moting, then nothing's changed. For me, nothing has changed at Manchester United. It's just two different names trying to buy players that ain't good enough. The days of Manchester United centre forwards being Wout Weghorst and Falcao and Igalo and Choupo-Moting, just different years, same old story. For me, I can't believe the Man United fan base are not in riot to get the Glazers out of the club anymore. I just don't get it. For me, they've just been an absolute shambles. You're going to do another project manager now under Zerbi. Now, there's two options you've got, Tel. You can go and throw money at this Diego Simeone or Hansi Flick, or you can try another project like you did with Ten Hag, like you did with Orignal Solskjaer, like you did with Louis van Gaal, and go and try and do some form of project over 5 years process like Arsenal have tried to do. But I keep saying it on shows. Just because a process is now in place does not mean the end goal is trophies. Yeah, you could have 5 years of Arteta and you could have 2 years of Diego Simeone. And in 5 years, you might have different managers at Manchester United because Simeone only lasted 2 years. But actually, you could have 2 trophies and Arsenal and Arteta could have none in 5 years. But we've had a process and Man United have tried to win now. And I just think that there's 2 ways of looking at it. You could look at the Chelsea approach and have 15 trophies and 15 managers, or you can have, in that time, 2 managers and 2 processes. And that's the honest way I look at it, man. I feel, personally, Manchester United need to make a big decision as a fan base about what you want, because the Glazers are going to throw money wherever. It's not money. Yeah, Man United spent an unbelievable amount of money. So have Arsenal, by the way, right? You've got to decide where you want. And I think Zerbi, for me, is going to be another one of these project managers that will come in. And why will it be different to Ten Hag? Because he's better than Ten Hag, is he? I don't know, is he? I've no idea.
I'll tell you why it could be different. I get your point, but do you know why it could be different? The appointment so far, first of all, Blanc coming onto our board. You then have Omar Barada coming in from Manchester City as a CEO. It's highly touted that the likes of Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell are going to come in from a sporting and footballing director point of view to run the recruitment and everything else. The problem that Ten Hag and everybody else came in with when it comes to their rebuild is we actually haven't performed the rebuild at this club once in the past 10 years. The rebuilds have never happened because it wasn't just the manager that was a problem or a player or two that was an issue. It was systemic from inside out of this football club. The way we're being run, bankers and accountants making footballing decisions with no pedigree in the game. The fact now that Ten Hag would have been much more of a success if when we employed him, we also brought in a brand new board, brand new technical directors, brand new whoever else it may be. If we'd have done that clear out at exactly the same time, there would have been an improvement. Now, I do agree. I don't want us to go down this road of 5 years. It's okay not to win a trophy because we're rebuilding. I want us to fight towards that. But we need to build something that is sustainable beyond any one manager. We need a footballing philosophy where every player we buy, male or female, by the way, from the under-9s through to our first team, all have to be trained to play the same way or have the same similar characteristics and technical capabilities for particular roles that they fulfill. That way, if after 4 years of success with the Zerbi or Simeone, that manager moves on to pastures new, or they start to struggle and we move them out, you never need a rebuild again. You always are going to need 2 or 3 additional players in, 2 or 3 players out, because every club does that always. But we need to get to that point where after sacking a manager, we're not saying, right, we need to clear out 90% of the squad, change the philosophy. When Man United have hired new managers, every manager has changed so many things. We're going to add trees to the training ground. We're not going to let the players sit with the staff. We're not going to let this happen. We're going to start playing this style of football. Man United, by the way, under the last 5 managers, our first team have played a different style to every other level of football at the club. These things for me are far more important than, so like, I don't mind Zerbi coming in. I want Simeone as my first choice, but those things being fixed for me are far more important than who we hire as a manager and who we buy or sell in the summer. And as long as we get that right, I do have faith in whoever they bring in, because it shows me they're making the right football decisions, from the beginning, if that makes sense. Because right now, up until now, the last 10 years, the football making decisions have been absolutely horrendous. So
it's been a shambles.
I think the first step so far under the new Ineos part ownership, the first steps of the likes of Blanc and Omar coming in, I think are impeccably good, but we need so much more of that, in my opinion.
Listen, I totally agree with everything you said about the structure of the football club, because it's been a shambles, right? It's been an absolute shambles. And I look at what Manchester United have been in the last decade, and it's been embarrassing, and that's coming from an Arsenal fan who's been in turmoil for probably longer, right? So for me, when I look at it, I think, what the hell is Man United now? Like, I look at everything about it, it's unrecognisable to the one that I absolutely hated growing up watching, because it used to destroy us and other teams, right? And I had some good fights with Man United. At my high school years over the 90s and 2000s, it was brilliant banner, because it was us winning, then you winning, unbelievable Fergie and Wenger rivalry. So there's been an absolute shambles for both clubs in terms of where we were to where we are now. But for me, he plays an attractive style of play. Oh, yeah, he's going to come over and implement that style. I've heard that all before, mate. I heard it with Ten Hag. Yeah, I heard that before. And Ten Hag, the difference? He actually did win at Ajax. He actually did come and try to, you would have thought, try and get a style of play. It hasn't happened. And is Zerbi going to be in the same? Is Zerbi going to come over from Brighton, try and play a style of play that everybody wants, this Pep Guardiola style out from the back, and then it not be allowed to happen? I just wonder why you're going again for a Zerbi. Is he better than Ten Hag? Maybe. I don't know. I've no idea. He's not managed Manchester United yet. It's a completely different job managing Ajax to Man United, let alone Brighton to Man United. Yeah. So there's a lot of good things at Brighton, but we saw what happened to Graham Potter. Graham Potter left, went to the job was too big for him at Chelsea. Is the Zerbi job going to be too big for him at Manchester United? I would probably say yes. I think it would. So I don't look at that and go, cool, yeah, Man United are back. Jesus Christ, just got Zerbi. I look and I think, God, that's going to be a good few years again then. If you got Simeone and said, right, here's this the way we're structured now. You sort your structure out. This is how we're going to buy players. We are going to give you the money you need to build your team. And in 2 windows, you are going to be in a better position. I'd have more faith in Simeone in 2 windows than I would in Zerbi.
I agree with that. You've seen one of the things that's already been implemented at the club very quickly, and it's essentially a policy from Manchester City, LB, that a player has 1 year, potentially 2, to prove they're good enough for the right standard, or they'll be moved on and sold. Are these the type of things that United need to implement and stand by to get back to the top?
Well, this United used to have this, Terry. I don't need to tell you. United had this. They had this with Ferguson, and they've let their standards slip. So, people will probably make a big deal out of this, saying, "Oh, Omar's going to bring the Manchester City standards to United," which he is doing. But United used to have these standards themselves.
Yeah.
They won, what, 13 out of 20 Premier Leagues or whatever it was under Alex Ferguson. They used to have these standards, and then since he's left, their standards have just dropped. So I think it's about getting those standards back. You know what I mean? Wrestling control away from the players back to the football club, because at the moment those players run the club. Yeah, they've got all the managers sacked, and half of them aren't even good enough. The amount of when I do when we do United versus City previews, yeah, and people say, "Oh, LB, what United players would you have at City?" None. I'd probably take Kobe Mainu now as a backup to Rodri. Oh, surely LB, you're taking this guy. No, I'm not just saying it for clicks or for banter. Your club is just like, the standards are in the mud, and there's a lot of players that need to be sold and start again. So Dan can sit there and say, yeah, it's going to take years and years. That's the truth. It's going to take years and years. I don't think people realise just how screwed Man United are. Yeah, they need to start again. They need to gut that club, gut all the players out, because half of them aren't good enough. Yeah, stop giving contracts to crap players. Yeah, and if a player doesn't want to leave, no problem. You're training with the kids. That's what they should have done with McTominay and Maguire when they refused to leave to go to West Ham. Oh no, we don't want to go West Ham. We want to stay here. Right, no problem. Then you can train. You train with the under 21s, because you're not training with the first team, and then maybe they'll have the ruthlessness has completely gone from your club. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So for me, yeah, listen, your club needs to put in a process. Unfortunately for your fans, and very fortunately for me as a City fan, I think you guys are going to have to accept that, again, it's going to take a while. But in my genuine opinion, I do think that you can have now a little bit of faith that this will eventually turn out right. But it's going to take time. But I would take Zerbi, Dan. I would take him over Ten Hag. Ten Hag is not good enough, man, for Man United. Yeah,
Zerbi, though. Do you look at Zerbi and think, well, that's a massive upgrade? And Man United are going to be back with him.
I think if Man United want to play this passing style, I think they're better off with Zerbi than Ten Hag.
Yeah, that's fair, but it's not going to win him anything.
It's not. I don't think it's necessarily about winning stuff at this moment in time, which will trigger some fun. No, it's not. It's not Man United of 20 years ago, Dan.
No, it's not. Man United. That's what we've got to get back to, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's not going to get back overnight, though, Dan.
Listen, you've got two options. Man United have got two options. They can either go, right, I want to win in the next couple of years, or I want to give this 5 years, 6 years, like we're doing at Arsenal. Doesn't really matter if you don't chuck trophies away. We're trying to build a team, trying to get competing with Man City, all that crap. For me, if you go and let's say they've got I don't even know how much Man United got to spend in the next summer, right? Let's say they've got 250 million. They're going to be mental, right? Let's just say that. No idea. Would you rather give that to Simeone and say, right, I don't care if you're here for 18 months.
I don't care. I don't want it being given to any manager. I want that. This is where we've got to change. Those decisions.
But you're going to tell. You're going to. You just said that.
No, but we're not. We're not. This is what they're telling us we're going to implement. That money is going to be spent by the likes of Omar, by the likes of Dan Ashworth, by the likes of Paul Mitchell for a club philosophy. So for me,
okay, that's fine. That's fine then.
So what you said though, I want both. So I want us to think about winning trophies.
And say, there's 200. We're going to play it. We're going to sort you out.
I agree with you. I agree with you that I would prefer Simeone to Zerbi. But let me just paint you a picture. Maybe Simeone says no.
Yeah.
Then this is the thing.
I don't think you will go there, if I'm honest. But
I also think with the right structure, I think if our structure was how we're trying to build now, if Jose came into that structure, I think if Ten Hag came into that structure, I think they'd have won more than they did. And they both won trophies with us. I think they could have won more whilst helping to build this foundation. I think both were plausible at the same time. With the Zerbi, like one thing we want to see straight away is an improvement in the football. Now, we've seen that with Big Ange Postecoglou. Straight away, Spurs are up near the top of the league. So that I expect from us very quickly to be in a contender type position at this stage. But then there's a difference. It might take 2 or 3 years to bridge that gap between playing really good football and being alongside a City for the first 20, 25 games, and then seeing it through to that 38th game of the season. That, for me, is going to take 2 to 3 years to build a squad with the mental and physical capabilities of being able to do that. So I think it's a combination of all these things. I don't think it's as simple as, I don't think any manager in the world would come in and start dominating the Premier League straight away with Man United. You could bring Pep in with Klopp as his assistant. It's not going to happen because the infrastructure isn't there. But equally, I don't want this, and I don't think that the owners have said this. We're going to come in as a project. Doesn't matter if we don't win anything for 5 years. I think there's going to be a bit of a hybrid of the two.
Yeah, no. So what you need to do, so obviously and Terry's right, they're not going to get someone like Simeone in, because what they want to do, they want to build a squad where they can bring in a manager who plays a certain way and they can just take over it and go. Because that's been United's problem over the last decade. They've gone from Moyes to Van Gaal, completely different managers, yeah? They went from whoever you went from, I don't know, Mourinho, you ended up with Ole, then you go back to Ten Hag. It's just a mismatch. They're trying to get away from that. They're trying to build a squad to play a certain way so you can just take out a manager. So what I do is personally, because I don't think Ten Hag's good enough. So the argument about is De Zerbi better than him, for me, that's irrelevant because Ten Hag has failed at Manchester United, in my opinion. He's not good enough as a manager. So I get rid of him, bring De Zerbi in and say, we know you're not going to win anything in the first 12 months, yeah? We want you to play better football and implement a style of play. But what they need to do is, instead of doing an Arsenal and saying, well, don't worry, you'll still be here in 5 years, say, after the second year, say, right, you've had a year, you've had 200 million, you're going to get another 200 million, although you're not spending it, as Terry says, it's going to be the sporting directors. You're now expected to compete. And guess what? If he doesn't compete, then get rid of him and bring in someone else who's better. You can't just keep Ten Hag because you think that, is he better than him? Ten Hag's not good enough.
So do you think that's a better option, there'll be, than going, Hans Flick, here you go, here's your 18 months. I don't rate De Zerbi. I don't think he's been at the top level. You have. Here's what you've got, 18 months. Why De Zerbi? Why is De Zerbi the guy? I don't get that.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily he is the guy. I'm just saying you got to get rid of Ten Hag. But I don't think people... I think you're massively overestimating United at the moment. You really think a Flick's going to go there? A Simeone is going to go there? That club's a mess, mate. Look at the players they have.
Yeah, it's a mess. I think you have to remember as well that it's Man United. It isn't Wigan. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a huge...
You are right. You are right. But I've had this argument since LVG got sacked, Jose, Ole, and kind of now with Ten Hag. I've sat on streams with huge United fans, been in spaces with them all. And when it got to Ole's sacking, I said, I don't really want to sack him. Oh, you're an Ole apologist. It's nothing to do with apologising for Ole. I don't think sacking the manager fixes us. It's why all the idiots that said get rid of Martial and Pogba will be a better team, fools. Anyone who thinks just getting rid of Bruno and Rashford fixes us, fools. Anyone who thinks just sacking Ten Hag fixes us are an idiot. And every single time we sack a manager, typically the new guy comes in, there's a spike. I always used to get the same messages. Terry's wrong. They said you said you wouldn't get better if you got a new manager. No, I said in the long term, we won't get better. And I said this about Ten Hag when he came in. I said he'll have a spike and an improvement. And when we won the League Cup, I said it. If we get rid of these owners like in that, because there was a lot of rumours that by the end of March, early April, they will announce they've sold the club. So if we get new owners in now, he'll go on to another levels with us. But I said if the Glazers stay, old habits will die hard and we'll be back down in the gutter soon. And it happened. The way we are run and the infrastructure and culture at our club needs to be fixed first. So for me, this January, genuinely, if you said now you could sign Mbappe or the other, but you don't fix the board, or you can fix your board and directors, but you get no players, I'm picking board and directors.
100%.
I genuinely believe that is the first and most important move for Man United, because I look at it this way: the board and your directors in the modern day game, they're your heartbeat. At the end of the day, and getting Mbappe is like getting a getting a new nose done. Do you know what I mean? It's like going to get a bit because it's like getting a hair transplant. Dan, at the end of the day, if you were told you can have 2 operations, you can get your bald head sorted out, or your heart you're about to have a heart attack. If you can get that fixed, you've got to pick your heart. You've got to get your heart. Bro. You've got to stop the heart attack. Man. Do you know what I mean? And that's where Man United have got heart disease. We're on the edge of a stroke, but we're out here getting our teeth done. It's madness. We spend the money on the wrong thing. We're absolutely abysmally run, and Man United fans don't want to hear it. But it's wrong.
I just think it's wrong to say Man United it'll take 5-6 years. It might do if you go down that route that you have.
I ain't said that though, Dan. I said 2 to 3 years.
No, I'm not saying you have. I'm just saying there are people that are saying it's going to take ages. It's going to take ages. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go and make it,
they're bums. Those people, some people set those standards of 5 years because what they want is everyone to agree with it, so that for 5 years they don't get any banter. That's all. It's a deflection. Do you know what I'm saying? But for me,
like we've had it as well. We're only in 4 years.
If it's De Zerbi and we spend 250 million in the summer, I minimum want Champions League football first year. Like I want that. That doesn't mean sack him because you have to contextualize, but I still want that. And a lot of people say you shouldn't celebrate the top four. We've lost sight of celebrating finishing in the top four. Do you know why? Because back in the Premier League's heyday, sort of 04 through to about 2013, 14, all four qualifiers pretty much every year could win the Champions League. That's why we used to celebrate being in the damn thing, because our teams were good enough to win it the following year. You weren't celebrating it because it was fourth place and fourth was good. It was because, yes, I'm in the Champions League next year and I believe we can win it. So if we keep improving year in, year out, that's why, like year one, I want to be the second year, I want to be in the Champions League, because I would hope within a year to 2 years, by the time you get to the knockout stages of the Champions League, you've improved to a point where people fancy you being able to maybe not win it, but be able to go far in the competition and do yourselves proud. So, yeah, for me, I would say 2.5 to 3 years until you're able to really go toe-to-toe with City and Liverpool and Arsenal by the standards they're at now. But infrastructure is key. Terry's so ungrateful. Other clubs would love to be in United's position. Again, Twisted, you're trying it here. So I understand how you would look at it as being ungrateful. And to some clubs, you know, like Leyton Orient, or so I'm scratching my back with a pen because it's Jim, or like, I don't know, Burton Albion, they may look at Man United fans as being ungrateful. You spent £1 billion in the last 10 years. How could you moan about that? Well, I'm moaning about it because it hasn't been spent correctly. Now, yes, would I rather be in the situation we're in now at Man United or be Burton Albion? Yes, I'd rather be in this position now, but that's not the option, is it? The option isn't be small like Burton Albion and have no money, or be Man United with money. It's we've got the money. I want it to be spent correctly. I want the right people to run it. And it isn't even about winning per se. I want to win. When I grew up as a kid, even though I wasn't from Manchester, I did spend a lot of time up there because Team GB's headquarters were there. But I don't know, Man United made me proud. I fell in love with the football club, the way they operated, their history, how they persevered, how they built teams to win. Ironic, it's why I love the journey so much. It made me proud. It inspired me. I'm not inspired by this football club anymore. This football club depresses me. It makes me sad. So I want it for. I don't feel like I'm ungrateful. I feel
that's
like
that's why I think the fans are like it. Listen, the reason you're depressed, Terry, is because of your ownership, mate. That's why, because they've absolutely destroyed what was, in my opinion, an unbelievable football club that I looked at and thought absolutely hated because they're winning everything. So I look at it now and I think to myself, let's be real. A lot of problems are on the Glazers, man. A lot of the reasons they've neglected the club.
Mate, it's all on them. To take them back it's all on them. I mean, people go, they don't pick the team, they pick the manager. Everything wrong with this club stems from those leeches. But Man United fans have kept them here by continuing to give them money. We should have boycotted, like me. You know, I gave up both my season tickets. I waited 12 years to get tickets in the Stretford End, and I gave those bad boys up. 12 years I waited. I was sitting in first of all, I was in the family stand. It was so awful. You couldn't swear. You always have a mum turning around and telling you off. That's all I could get. Then I got the Stretford End, and then I decided I had to boycott. I thought people would come with me. They didn't.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
But yeah, I did my bit. I just see what you put in the private chat. Onana's been benched by Cameroon. You know what? I watched that guy Ajax and loved him. I watched him a lot last season at Inter and thought, wow. When we were linked with him, I couldn't believe. We've been frauded, bruv. We have been. I saw the other. Did you see how slow he dived the other day for that save?
Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I don't get what's going on there. Like, was he always just like a keeper that maybe had mistakes in him and that everyone just kind of ignored, or? Does United just ruin play? I don't know what it is, man. But
no, he wasn't as good, was he? He was overhyped when he was another one.
He must have been overhyped, bro. Because
clearly,
you know what? Some United fans said to me, "Watch the way he dives. The way he dives for shots is like strange." And apparently, Ajax tried to coach it out of him and say, "Now, like the goalkeeper coach said, you need to like improve your diving. The way you dive ain't right." And like apparently, the guy was just not having it and was like, "Nah, I ain't changing for no one."
We got rid of a goalkeeper. I think him Kivio. I didn't know much about him because I don't have MUTV on, I think, anymore, and because obviously I don't give money to the Glazers, I didn't know much about him. He played our first 2 or 3 preseason games. He's better than Onana, better with his feet. And he was making good saves. He played against Arsenal. He was brilliant against you. We sold him for like 4 million. Yeah, but those are the kind of things, by the way, which I don't think are going to happen as regularly anymore. We will buy duds. Everybody does. But I think that type of thing where you've got a goalie on your bench who you're selling for 4 million who's actually better in all the things you want than a guy you're dropping £54 million on. That type of decision making has happened at my club regularly over a 10-year period. And you again, every club can sign a dud, but you can't be signing one or two every single year because you burn through money and you sell better players for like a pittance. It's crazy. Viewers, make sure like buttons are hit. Make sure you subscribe. Big story that's gone around today, and that is that Karim Benzema has told his team in Saudi, I never know how to pronounce their name, Al-Ittihad, I think it's pronounced, that he wants to leave. He feels pressured. He wants to leave. He wants to go. And according to reports in France, Arsenal have reportedly been offered the chance to seal the deal, but they're going to prioritize other areas. Chelsea are in for him, and it feels like this is really picking up pace. How disappointed are you to read that the player is now demanding to go, but Arsenal Football Club, as of now, according to these reports this afternoon, Arsenal was saying, no, we don't want him.
Mikel Arteta, mate, doesn't seem to think that we need a centre forward, does he? He thinks that Eddie Nketiah is the answer. He thinks that Kai Havertz can play there. Thinks he can play Trossard there. And that Jesus is fine as the number 9. It's madness for me, man. This one's a no-brainer. You have the opportunity to buy Karim Benzema for a 6-month loan. You go and do it. Yeah, I don't care if he's 107. You go and do it for me. He's an absolute killer in the box. We spoke about it last week about what he would do and what he would bring to Arsenal. He would bring everything that every single media pundit, football fan, influencer is telling everybody that Arsenal don't have, and that's a killer in the box. And it's clear to see the amount of chances we're creating in terms of our final third. Everything we do to get the ball to the final third is actually good. But we ain't got anybody at the moment that can put it in the back of the net. Now, of course, against Palace, we were able to do that. And it was good to see some of the goals he scored from open play. Set pieces have been improved clearly in Dubai, which needed to happen, by the way. So it was good to see Arsenal back to winning ways. But does not mean that we now do not need a striker because we scored 5 goals. Benzema would be an unbelievable signing right now, because that for me is a massive upgrade on what we've got. But also it brings that experience and mentality that people say Jesus and Zinchenko have apparently brought in terms of winning trophies. That guy's won pretty much everything in football. And when you look down in history in the last decade, he's been one of the best players in the world, along with the Messis and Ronaldos. Yeah, he's kind of that next bracket for me. So I think personally it's an absolute crazy, crazy thing. And if he is going to go, because there was reports I saw Leon were interested as well in him coming back there. Listen, if we have actually, if that's true, and we've said, nah, it ain't for us really, we want to go and buy a defender. I don't really know what else to tell you about the concerns I've had about our recruitment and the way that we do business at the moment under this regime.
For full disclosure, the article here says Arsenal need a striker, so it's perhaps not surprising to see Benzema has been offered to them. But as per the report in the Daily Mail, and I want to just check which reporter has put that out. That comes from Sammy McBell. Sammy McBell has said that the Arsenal boss, Mikel Arteta, seems to be focused instead of bringing in a versatile defender before the end of the window. So honestly,
Kieran Tierney's on loan at Real Sociedad. This is what I do not understand about this regime, and I've tried to explain it so many times, and I just get crap thrown at me about how toxic I am and negative I am. Don't understand the club. You can't see what Arteta's doing. Get yourself down the lane and go and support Tottenham. I'm sick and tired of it. The recruitment at this place has been a shambles. I'm sorry. We've got about 4 or 5 really good players in. The others have been awful. Nuno Tavares cannot play for Nottingham Forest. Lokonga cannot play for Luton Town. These are not good buys. Cedric's still here. El Neni's still here. Pablo Marie was another bad buy. Runnison, Turner, 6 goalkeepers we've had.
Vieira.
We've had. Fabio Vieira, Kai Havertz.
Kibio.
All these players are being mentioned as this great recruitment. And we're being told we're not going to go for Benzema. We're going to go for another versatile defender. You've just got rid of one on loan at Real Sociedad. Just go and bring him back for nothing. There's your left back cover, yeah? And go and buy a centre forward. How hard is it? This is mad. And I get Arsenal fans going, oh, we don't want Tierney. He doesn't want to be here. Why do you think you don't want to be here? I wouldn't want to bloody be here if I'm Kieran Tierney. I'm getting put bloody Kivior's getting ahead of me, yeah? Granit Xhaka's playing ahead of me at left back under this manager at times. Like, let's be real. This is a poor recruitment from and transfer business yet again. We went
contract extensions as well, bro.
Say again.
Contract extensions as well to the likes of
Bro, don't even talk to me about that. Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah getting 100k a week while we're turning down Benzema because we ain't got FFP issues. Man, people talk about FFP issues. They don't understand FFP and they don't understand FFP. What, 65 million on Havertz? How's that for your FFP? Yeah, 100 million on Vieira and Kai Havertz. Unbelievable business. And then we get told, oh, we can't really afford this Benzema, but we'll go and bid 22 million for the Getafe striker Mayoral, whatever his name was, get it rejected. You know what? You want to give that a year, 6-month loan deal for Benzema. We don't have the money. We've got 22 million for Mayoral, though. That's been rejected. We don't go and put that money on Benzema for a 6-month loan. This club, man, I tell you, they're not serious. They're not serious. If you're telling me we're going to go and buy an unknown versatile defender to try and win Arsenal a title, you are in absolute cloud cuckoo land, mate, if you think that's happening. We have got absolute zero chance as it is of winning the Premier League, right? Of wanting to get closer to Manchester City and Liverpool, by the way, yeah? Then we need to go and get a centre forward in that actually can score goals. And that don't just suit, I said to you last week, it isn't just about getting Benzema because we've still got issues in other areas. We've still got Saka stinking out the joint and can't be dropped because no one can come in for cover for him. Yeah, we're still absolutely praying Saliba doesn't get injured because nobody can come in at right centre back like him. We're praying for Partey to come back because we've only got Declan Rice in midfield at the moment. Yeah, Kai Havertz was 65 million pounds, and people are going FFP, profit sustainability. Well, Arsenal got to be careful. What the hell are we putting 65 mils down for this guy for then? It's a shambles, tell honestly. And if we are telling down Benzema, and you're telling me that's true, that to go and get a centre off, man.
Yeah, I mean, again, for full clarity, I'm only reading here what Samuel McBell was put, and their claim is Arsenal search for a striker is evident, but reports from Samuel McBell in the Daily Mail suggest that Benzema has been presented as an option. However, the focus at Arsenal for the Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta appears to be on securing a versatile defender before the transfer window closes. That, for me, again, I think it's wrong, and I think it's a poisonous lie to suggest that Arsenal have hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds to spend on players this month. I understand not dropping 100 million on Tony plus the salary. That may be unattainable right now. I don't believe that signing Karim Benzema is this nonsense. He's on £1 million a week. He knows he's not getting that. Again, if his team in Saudi say you're going to have to pay his full wages, I understand that because that would cost you. Absolutely. That would cost you 20, 30, 40 million pounds before the end of.
We're giving 300k to Havertz, tell.
But this is it. I think it would cost you about £200,000 to £300,000 a week to bring in someone like Karim Benzema. To say no to that, to go after a defender that may barely kick a ball unless you get injuries, it makes zero sense. And I don't think that's about the club not being willing to do enough. That says to me, Arteta saying no. I've got Nketiah. I don't need Benzema. That is what that sounds like to me. Because if they're letting him spend it on a defender, it's not to get wrong. It's not about them the club allowing money to be spent. But this is where we're talking earlier. Structures at clubs. You can, if you've got a top class ball and a top class, you cannot turn down a man who I believe if Benzema comes in now to Arsenal, he will score 10 goals in the league minimum between now and the end of the season. Eddie Nketiah is not scoring that. If Arsenal would really offered him and they walk away, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Why would we give Edu and Arteta another penny to spend on a versatile defender? Well, the state of some of the ones he's bringing in. Pablo Mari has come into this football club and done nothing as a versatile defender. Cedric Suarez has come in, right? Nun Tavares has come in. Jakub Kivior has come in. What, we're going to go and spend another money on that type of player? Yeah? That's what we're going to go and do. Instead of going and getting an absolute serious player, right? This is the problem I have with people who say that this bloke is a genius and that Edu's been given awards, by the way, for those signings. He's picked up an award somehow. I don't know how. Maybe there was no one else who got nominated for it. He went in on his own or something. But how the hell he's got given an award for some of the signings he's made at Arsenal was shocking, by the way, which no one talks about. They all cover all them players up I've just said. They all talk about Rice. They all talk about Ødegaard, Ben White, all the players that they think have done well, right? And some of them have. Gabriel's another one, Partey. Some of them have done well, right? But you look at some of the ones we bought, it's an absolute shambles. How many goalkeepers does this guy need, by the way, before he actually decides that they're all need upgraded upon, like an Addison and Edison? This guy's had 6 goalkeepers at Arsenal since he's been here in 4 years. Left backs, exactly the same. How many more left backs does he want to play? Zinchenko's played there. Kolasinac has played there. Tavares has played there. Tierney's played there. We've got Kivior now playing there. Timber's been brought in and he's played there. Granit Xhaka even bloody played there. How many left backs does this guy need before he can actually sign one that's anywhere near what we used to have here, like Ashley Cole level? This is the problem I've got with Mikel Arteta and Edu. right? They've done some good things. Don't get me wrong. They've allowed us to compete, blah, 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 all that crap. For me, the recruitment has been piss poor in parts. And yet again, we're seeing a window where, very similarly to the one we had a couple of Januaries ago, where we actually paid Barcelona £7 million for Aubameyang to go, only for 6 months later than sell him to Chelsea for £12 million, right? We actually give him, and we saw nobody else to replace him. So when I look at Pepe, Aubameyang, and Lacazette at Arsenal a couple of years ago, who's replaced them? Jesus has replaced Aubameyang, Eddie Nketiah has replaced Lacazette, and Reece Nelson has replaced Pepe. Come on, man, this is a shambles. And we're not signing another striker. He's only signed Jesus. In 4 years, he signed one attacking player. Oh, two, sorry. The other one was Willian. That was another one.
You know what, Daniel? I think this would be a huge... sorry, bro. I think it would be a huge mistake, man, if you guys don't go in for Benzema, man. This guy's an elite-level goal scorer. Yeah, elite-level goal scorer. This guy tore us up, 2 years ago, I think it was? This guy tore us apart in the Champions League. Yeah, this guy's an elite-level baller, yeah? And you could get him for... Obviously, we don't know the loan fee and that, yeah? But... I don't buy that Arsenal can't afford the loan fee, right? I don't buy that, yeah. Unless it's a wildness, yeah.
Load of crap.
This deal, if you can get him across the line and get him in, you've got a serious chance of winning the league there. Because I look at Arsenal, and yes, there are areas of the squad that you need to improve. Of course, there are defenders, probably another midfielder, a winger, right? But this guy will win you games and get you points that you wouldn't have. Just like Erling Haaland does for us. The perfect example for me, the West Ham game we got beat the other day, like a couple of weeks ago, you at least draw that game if you've got an elite level striker. Because Jesus had them 2 headers, that he missed both of them. Benzema scores both of them. Easy, scores them every single day of the week. No one arguing with it. That's facts, yeah. The guy's an elite level scorer. He scores both of them. Arsenal get a point, at least. That could be the difference come the end of the season. I don't understand why Arsenal are not going for this. The only reason I think they're not going for this deal is because then Arteta and the board have to accept that they've made a mistake with giving Nketiah a new deal and signing Jesus as a number one.
And Havertz.
And Havertz as well. But, you know, sometimes you have to accept that you've made a mistake to move forward. And it's only a loan deal, so if it doesn't work out, who cares?
Exactly that. And it might not work out. It's not guaranteed that he's going to come in and be outstanding. But let's be real. When it's there looking you in the face, you start in Benzema, you don't keep Eddie Nketiah. Right? Let's just have it right. Eddie Nketiah, loved the lad in terms of him playing at the Arsenal. It's not his fault, right? He wants to come and he wants to live the dream. But actually, you've got to look at the sentimental value and you've got to look at where Arsenal are. I want to go and win things, right? I don't want to be competing and giving people a club that gives kids chances. Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah are probably going to walk into a Wolves or Palace side eventually and do very well for them, maybe. Or maybe they'll be part of their squad. They are not going to take Arsenal to a title. There is no top 4 club that looks at Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, and even Kai Havertz and says, I wouldn't mind them in my squad, you know. Man United, they're absolutely in the mud. We've just talked about them. Are you going to sign Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, or Kai Havertz, Terry? The answer is no. Right?
No.
So
no.
What the hell are we got them for? And when we're getting Benzema, we're going, oh, no, thank you. Don't want him. We'll have Eddie, please. And
Man United linked. We're linked with Choupo-Moting this month. Now, I think of all the strikers that are available on loan, if everybody goes in for them, because of where we sit in the current pyramid, Timo Werner's and Choupo-Motings are probably about as good as we're going to get. But if the likes of Arsenal don't go in for Benzema and leave him available, what a touch for a club like Man United or even Chelsea, who are nowhere near you at the moment in terms of your league standing. But if he goes to Chelsea or Man United, both teams improve overnight, especially Chelsea, by the way, who create an abundance of chances. They're going to suddenly start jumping up the league table, and that could be a very painful experience for Arsenal fans. So I completely agree. I don't believe you guys have got £200 million to spend this month, but you have got the money, in my view, to sign someone short term like a Benzema. And it isn't even just the Premier League. He's experienced in the Champions League, genuinely, to help you navigate as a player, but from a mental standpoint, from a experience perspective, to help you navigate those knockout stages. That's priceless. It's absolutely, because he'll be the most experienced man in your whole club when it comes to the Champions League. Because, in fact, I don't sound horrible. Benzema's more, in my opinion, I'm going to hazard a guess that Benzema's won more trophies in his career than Arsenal. More major trophies, anyway. It's in leagues and European trophies. That man has more than Arsenal may ever get. So to turn that down, it makes zero sense to me. So what Sammy McBell has put out, and look, again, Sammy McBell is considered a very credible journalist as well. This isn't just some fly-by-night merchant. This super chat here says, one, we're not in PCR because of Havertz. Also, anyone knows we cannot sign unless we sell this window. It's not Mikel Arteta. Discussions, 20. Now, what I would say to that is this. Havertz is not the reason you're struggling. You lost 127 million nearly 3 years ago. Now that comes off in May, according to Kieran Maguire, the country's leading football financial expert. You remove that, you still are looking at your accounts and no one quite knows the full extent of them. But spending £65 million on a player that hasn't improved you is contributing towards you being close to that figure. No one's saying it's just Kai Havertz. Secondly, the report doesn't say you're not signing anyone. The report says you're trying to sign a versatile defender. So how much is that going to cost? 25 million plus his salary? That's probably going to be more expensive than Benzema for 6 months.
Exactly.
That's why I'm challenging what you're saying. I really appreciate the super chat. It means a great deal to us. I respect it. But you're oversimplifying this situation. If the report was Arsenal can't do it because they literally have no money for anybody, fair enough, that's the report. But they're not saying they have no money. They're saying they don't have. They're saying they're going to spend it on a defender.
One thing he is right about is the last part, by the way. The Cronkies, common denominator for 20 years. That's facts, mate. And I tell you what, one thing on the Cronkies as well, just quickly. If we do underachieve this season and they don't sack him, then I'm coming for them and Arteta can do what he wants. I'm coming for them because they show me zero ambition to win trophies and zero accountability for when we don't win trophies. So that's all I'll say.
Can I just challenge on that? Play devil's advocate. Have they shown zero ambition? Because they've given the guy money and they've spent it wrong.
Yeah.
Would it not be better to say they've shown ambition? They've put the trust in the wrong people.
Exactly. So they're the issue then, aren't they? They've given lots of money to the wrong people. So there's got to be accountability.
Yeah, but they've not lacked ambition, have they? They spent £100 million on Rice. They spent 40 million on Timber. They spent 65 on Havertz. So lacking ambition is probably unfair.
Yeah, so they're not lacked ambition to try and get us to the top, but they will lack the ambition if they do nothing about giving people that money and doing nothing about it when they don't take you to the top. That's my question mark.
So if they sack Arteta, will you actually kind of low key respect them?
100%, because there's accountability. There's accountability for the reason. Look, I've given you all this money. We are now total ownership. Before we were majority shareholders, yeah? So you don't refurbish your whole house, do you? If you don't own it, you just clean the windows, yeah? So now you are total ownership of Arsenal, yeah? You are total ownership of Arsenal and you want to go refurb it. This is my plan. 4 years' time, 5 years' time, this is what I want to be seeing. Arsenal don't win a trophy, whether it be this season, and there's got to be context to it, which I've said before. You have to go to look at why they have not done that. And for me, spending this amount of money and looking at the ambition, say we get top 4 and we do lose to Porto, we're out of everything. If he doesn't get sacked and Edu can walk with him, then it's on the Cronkies because they're going, don't matter, give it another go. We'll give you another 200 million. Try and get Champions League football. We're all good. Give it another go. Nah, man. This is Arsenal, mate, not Wigan.
I want to throw something out to you two. And I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. I want to see if you
just got to answer this very quickly. Sorry, mate. Just give me 2 seconds.
No worries. I have to repeat with. So, have you heard a lot of people? Well, you know this question because I said it last night, didn't I, on the Top 6 show? Which is a lot of people say buy a striker and Arsenal can surpass City this season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where when you say Arsenal haven't shown ambition, again, I think that's a little too harsh because I think they've built a very good squad that has some holes in it. Does that make sense? As opposed to a poor one. I think they are a player or two away from it completely working. So that's why I think it isn't about them showing ambition. I think it's more about if it doesn't work this year after what they've invested, I think they have to look beyond Arteta and maybe somebody else to come in and support Edu to make sure that next time the purchasing of players is even better. Because again, in the summer, if they'd have bought an elite striker and not Kai Havertz, or if they'd have bought Zubamendi in with Declan Rice instead of Kai Havertz, I think they'd have a better team right now. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is where I've said all year, I think Arsenal are in a win-win. There are things to criticize them on. I think if they sign Anderson from Crystal Palace instead of Benzema, I think that's a mistake that should be criticized. But I think overall they've improved to a point where they're competing. And what the question I went to ask Dan is, A lot of Arsenal fans state that you're like a really good striker away from winning the league. Would you say that's a fair summary of what people say?
We'll get him a lot closer to the Premier League with a Benzema for sure, in my opinion, or a centre forward like that. Yeah. I still have I think I said last show, I still have my queries, but definitely closer, 100%.
Yeah, and my view is to the people that say a striker and we win it. If you're one player away from being better than one of the best teams in English football history in Man City, you can't be in that bad a place from a footballing standpoint. So I think that what Arsenal fans need to be not careful of, because rants don't always do anything. A lot of Man United fans ranted about the Glazers and they're still here. But I don't think you guys need to throw baby out with the bathwater if you don't win this season. I think it's maybe the manager goes, 1 or 2 new players in, 1 or 2 players out, somebody to potentially support Edu in terms of recruitment. Chap from Bayern Munich just left as an example. And I still think you guys are going to compete. That's why I felt all year it's win-win for you guys. You're either going to win with what Arteta's built, or you move a few people out and a few new people in and you go on to challenge again. I still think overall you're in a really good position. And yes, you need better than your Reece Nelsons and better than your Eddie Nketiahs. But it's only a handful of players additional you now need to be, in my opinion, on par with anyone in the world.
So this for me, is why this Benzema makes perfect sense for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Right? Because let's be honest, the striker that Arsenal are going to have to sign, in the summer is probably going to be an Ivan Toney. Yeah, that's going to be 80 million plus minimum. Or Osimhen, 130 million, something like that. It's going to be a lot of money, right? It's almost like try before you buy. Yeah, you get Benzema in on a small loan fee or whatever the loan fee is. You get him in for 6 months. Yeah, one of the greatest strikers we've seen in the last 20 years. Yeah, unbelievable baller. If he does well, but Arsenal is still well off the pace, there may be serious issues around the pitch.
Great shout.
If you don't get Benzema, then you go and get an Ivan Toney. And then you go, right, you know what I mean? Maybe get one more player, then you go again, and then realise that actually this left-back position is a major, issue. And actually, maybe the striker thing wasn't as bad as people made out. Maybe it was just a couple of games in a short period of time, and we all overreacted. This, for me, I just think this Benzema makes so much sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on with the Benzema thing, and I've made myself clear about that. I can't believe if that is true that we're just saying no to that. That's just absolutely mad for me, right? But there's a couple of things here, right, that you said, Tel, and I think we will find out this season whether we've got a Brendan Rodgers on our hands and we'll need to wait for an equivalent of a Klopp to come and do what they've done at Liverpool, or if this guy can get us across the line. Because at the moment, this guy's not been able to get us across the line. He's put us into a Champions League. He's put us into a title race. He won us a trophy with the side that was clear, apparently toxic, that needed to be breaking up. So he's done some good things at Arsenal, right? But we will find out this season whether he's that. And if you actually do move away from Mikel Arteta, like you've rightly just said, somebody else will come in and go, bloody hell, there's some good players at this football club, and they're all at a good age as well. So you're right, we could 100% go and quiver. Now, obviously, you've got to get the right recruitment into the right manager for that to happen, right? You can't just go and get someone known again, in my opinion. You've got to go and say, right, we need a win now manager because we want to win now. And the other thing I'll say, the fan base are an absolute joke, some of them. I mean, like, have you heard next summer we might be getting Osimhen and Zerbi might be coming in? I don't care about the summer. Yeah, I do not give a shit about the summer right now. There's a season that we are playing right now. It is January. Let's look at what we can do now. Let's not look about Evan Ferguson might come to Arsenal and be brilliant in 5 years' time. I want to talk about now. I want to talk about what winning now. I've waited for 20 years and 30 years for European glory.
I get that, but say... Let me play devil's advocate here. Let's just say Zubimendi and Osimhen are 2 of the best players in their position available in the world for Arsenal. But say you can't get them until the summer. And if you buy now, say you have got the money, let's paint the hypothetical, you've got 150 million that you can spend. Maybe they're going to cost more than that, 180 million that you can spend. Would you rather wait to the summer and get Zubimendi and Osimhen, or buy 2 players that are not of that level now?
I would rather go and get two players now that can help us for this season, and then go and do what's needed in the summer. Because if you go and get 2 players that aren't at the Zubimendi and Osimhen level now that can help Arsenal this season, you can still go and buy an Osimhen and Zubimendi in the summer. They're not going to be like, oh, they're not coming there now. Look,
you won't have the money though. If you spend that money now, say you
we haven't got the money though. We haven't got the money though, have we? We don't have the money apparently.
Okay, but this is we're painting the hypothetical, aren't we? We're painting the hypothetical. You might not have them. Also, the reality is you might not have the money until the summer because you've got to wait until after May for your COVID year finances to drop off, so you don't break profit and sustainability rules. And if you don't have the money until the summer, like what more can you do in your opinion?
Well, listen, I don't know the situation with the money. Apparently, no one's got any money to spend, so it's dead, right? So it is going to be summer. Wait till the summer now, right? But what I will say to you is this: if we could bring in, I don't know names, just give me any names you want, a striker and a midfielder, let's say, right? And that goes and wins Arsenal a Champions League or a Premier League. I don't give a fuck about the summer. I just won a trophy, yeah. Or do you sit there and go, well, we ain't going to really do anything this window. We have to wait till the summer. We ain't going to win anything again. So we'll just wait till the summer and hopefully Osimhen and Zubamendi will get us closer. We're always waiting of the next thing. It's always the next time. When are we going to actually look at Arsenal right now and try and win something? When is that? And when is it acceptable to say Arsenal will win the league this year? Arsenal are going to win the league this year. And there's a lot of people that will go, yeah, not ready still part of the process. Only in phase 4. Come on, calm down. We've got another phase yet. I'm thinking, what the hell? How long is this bloody process? You know, I had a chat, an argument with Kevin Campbell and Tom Canton on my channel talking about processes and how long it takes. You just keep going. You just keep going. What the hell? When does it end then? So this process is actually a load of nonsense then, because it could have 2028. Is it 2038? When the hell does the process end? For me, the process is completely and utterly done.
Let me ask you a question. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, just for the fun of it. I keep touching something under my desk that's making this thing come on my TV screen, my monitor. I don't know how the hell I'm doing it. I've never done it before. Anyway, I know you're not the biggest Arteta fan. Who could you sign and bring in as a player and bring in as a manager that makes you better than both Liverpool and Man City?
Simeone is a shout.
Somebody that says a CV that says, I win. Listen, you're not going to get better than Pep and Klopp, right? In my opinion, right in the world right now. I think they're two of the best. Carlo Ancelotti would be number 1 for me because it says I win football matches and I win trophies. Diego Simeone, to be fair to him, the last couple of years, he's actually not really done much at Atletico Madrid, but what he's done is kept them competitive. And to be fair, he has won plenty before, right? Particularly when Messi and Ronaldo were both playing the opposite sides against him, and he still won the league while they were both in that league. That was a phenomenal record, right? Done one in Champions League as well. So that's another. Hansi Flick, I think, has got an unbelievable amount of experience, and I think what he's done well, it says in his CV. I wouldn't take Conte or Mourinho. I know Mel B would disagree with that. I don't like going for old Spurs managers that have got the Spurs lurgy, right?
I thought you said Mel B. I was like, what's it got to do with the Spice Girls?
Mel B.
He said Mel B. I was like, oh.
I don't want Mel B. That's definitely not someone I want, Mel B. But what I'm getting at is I want a winner. I want a CV that says, I win things, and I don't care how long it takes. I don't have to be here for 5 years. If you come in here for 2 years, win me a Champions League and a Premier League, I'm cool. If you want to go, that's fine. It doesn't bother me about keeping a bloody manager for 5 years to try and have 5 years to, at the end of that 5 years, they might win a trophy. Well, do you know what? At the end of that 5 years, they might not. Yeah. So at the end of the 5 years of Mikel Arteta, if we ever got one FA Cup, it's been a failed process, hasn't it? It's not been a successful process.
Well, here's the thing for me, Dan. The process, yeah. People get married to the process.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
People get married to it. The process for me is to take you from a team that wasn't competing to a team that is now competing. Arsenal now competing. It's quite simple. The process is finished now. The process has completed. Yeah, whether it took too long or whatever is irrelevant. The process is now done. Yes. Arsenal are now competing. It's the end. Win or get fired and bring someone else in. But the reason why a lot of Arsenal fans don't want to go for that, because they're married to the process. I don't know why.
Neither do I, bro. What is they're married to the manager, bro. The manager to the manager.
It's a comfort blanket. It's a comfort blanket. It's a comfort blanket that if it can be widely accepted that the process is still on, we don't have to, and we can't be held accountable for what our club is or isn't doing. That's all it really. Like I said earlier, some Man United fans, 5-year process from now. You just want a 5-year process so that you can't be criticised. That's literally it. Because remember, as a society, we're getting political now. We have lost our ability to take criticism. We're a bunch of babies this day and age, and I don't understand it. Listen, I don't agree with all the criticism of Arteta. I stand by nearly every video I did last year. And by the way, I know this is true. I did a video the other day saying how brilliant and intimidating I find this Liverpool team. All I got was everyone going, yeah, you're right, or praising Liverpool in the comments. If I say it about Arsenal, the hatred is unbelievable. So I stand by what I've said. A lot of people hate Arsenal, and it skews their opinions massively on them. They hate that they've become a very good team. But at the same time, you're right. This marriage to the process stuff is crazy to me because your process is done. Arteta and Edu are now going to be judged on the trophies they win or do not win, not build it because they're competing. You're in the title race. So once you're in the title race, it's how did you navigate that and win? And if you don't win, how far? Again, if you finish on 95 points, 1 point off City, I think most owners would say No, you stay another year. You finish 15, 20 points away this season after investing, by the way, the biggest transfer summer in the history of Arsenal. Then you have to look at it and say, well, we don't need a rebuild again. There isn't phase one of the new rebuild. It's just the new manager comes in. The new manager comes in with a few new players and a few leave like normal, and you go again to try and win. So I agree with Kevin Campbell and I agree with Tom Canton that you just keep going, but you don't need to keep going with all the same players and the same manager
and the same process. Exactly. Yeah, exactly that.
Because the process remains. The manager is just a cog in that wheel. He shouldn't be the overarching.
It's Arteta FC, yeah. It's Arsenal FC.
The Wengers and the Fergusons are gone. They used to be the coach, the sporting director, there's everything. They used to run the club. They actually manage the entire football club. That doesn't happen anymore. They're essentially head coaches. So the process can continue without Arteta, and I think it is what it is. Yeah, let's listen. And everyone knows. I think Arsenal are a very good team. I think you're in this title race. I think you've got a chance of winning. But when I see decisions like if it's true what Samuel McBell said that you're turning down Benzema for a defender.
If we got Benzema, would we be scary, Terry? Would we be scary if we had got Benzema?
Mate, listen.
Would they scare you? Arsenal scare you?
Listen. As much as both your teams scare me of how bad we've been, but listen, we're on our way back. We're going to be scary soon. Honestly, I'm a Man United fan. Most things scare me right now. It's unbelievable. It's true, but yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting one in terms of Liverpool in this title race, boys. How far are they away from becoming title favourites? Considering they're winning, they've lost one game all season. They're top of the league by 5 points, and they're even winning without Mo Salah and Trent. How long until they're made favourites to win the league? Because I know a lot of Liverpool fans like to do this. Oh, we're underdogs. You've got one of the best managers in the world, a winning team, some of the best players in the world. I don't like calling them underdogs because that makes them sound like they're Burnley. But how long until they could be considered favourites, gents?
I think they need to get favourites, maybe 9 points. Obviously, it depends on what part of the season we're in. Obviously, if we get down to like match day 34, something like that, then obviously not. But like, I think like 9. If they can get 9 points ahead, I still think most people will just out of the respect of City, chasing teams down in the past, will still have City favourites up until around 8 points. If they get up to about 9, I think then you start. Yeah, you start looking at Liverpool there. But listen, Liverpool are a great side. Dan will say when he asked me at the start of the season who I think is going to be our main challengers, I said Liverpool. I think that Liverpool shouldn't have finished where they did last year. That was just a freak show. The team that they have on the pitch, was you're not telling me that wasn't capable of getting top 4. They just had a bad year. It happens. You know what I mean? It happens to teams, and they were always going to bounce back. They made some shrewd signings. Yeah, I think the midfield has done a little bit better than probably people expected. It's no real surprise to me that where they are. I expected them to be our main title rivals. I had them above Arsenal. So I think these next 2 games for Liverpool are huge. If they win the next 2 games, for me that eliminates Arsenal from the title race, and I really think then people will look at Liverpool and go,
you know what? Them, don't they?
Yeah, they play. I think Arsenal have got to win that game. I think Arsenal have to win that football match. So yeah, I think if Liverpool win the next 2 against Chelsea at home and then Arsenal away, I think. Not that people shouldn't be doing this anyway, but I think if there is anyone out there in the chat going, still don't see him as proper title rivals or whatever, if they win the next 2, then surely that opinion changes. So, yeah, I mean, I think Arsenal have to win that game at the Emirates. I think it's a must win. If you don't win that game, you're out of the race for me.
Yeah, if we don't beat Liverpool, we ain't winning the title. That's fair. I mean, I don't think we will anyway, but we definitely ain't if we don't beat Liverpool, right? But I've been really impressed with Liverpool, and I'll tell you why. I said that they needed a 6 and they need another centre-half if they have any thought of going for a title. Right, not just winning it, going for a title, because I felt that defensively they were poor, and I felt that in midfield they just completely gutted it. Then when they revamped it, I thought that might be a big mistake, because they revamped their whole midfield. People forget about it. They lost the likes of Milner, they lost Henderson, they lost Fabinho, and then they went and bought like the likes of Gravenberch. They promoted people like Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones. I've been so impressed with Liverpool defensively, and I've actually been impressed with the fact that they've got by so far by only losing 1 game to VAR at Spurs. Yeah. With making do without a number 6. Endo has been a player that's come in and has done a job. McAllister has done a job. Liverpool always had firepower. That wasn't my problem. I always knew Liverpool would score goals, because their attack is great. They've got unbelievable forwards. But when I look at them as a whole, I thought, not so sure. Liverpool have got a lot around the edges. Yeah, they've got a good goalkeeper. They've got great fullbacks, great wingers, great strikers. But what's through the middle? It looks like it's gutless at times. Van Dijk's definitely improved, which has helped things. I think Kenyate's come on the scene and been fantastic. Trent, for me, has been the best player in the Premier League this season. A lot of people will look at other players. Trent, for me, is definitely the best player for me in the Premier League this season. I've been unbelievably impressed and always rated him. I don't think he gets a lot of criticism, which is unnecessary and harsh. And I look in the midfield and I think, do you know what, you're making do? Gravenberch's been a good signing. Endo's been a good signing. McAllister and Szoboszlai, when they have been fit, have done bits for Liverpool, to be fair to them so far this season. So I don't look at Liverpool at the moment and go, nah, I don't see it. They could win the title. I don't think they will. I think it will be Man City. Liverpool 100% will win trophies this season. I think they're going to win the Europa League and the Carabao Cup for sure. They might win the FA Cup, who knows? But I do think Manchester City will win the league because Pep has shown me no evidence whatsoever that he isn't going to with this Manchester City side still again. And I think they'll turn it on. But Liverpool, listen, I think they're going to finish above us, unfortunately. I still stand by that. I think, I thought Arsenal would come second this year. I thought we'd be close again. But I don't think we did enough in the summer, and I think it's showing now. And Liverpool have picked it up in big time, and I've been impressed by them. And like Little B says, if anybody says they're not in the title race, give your head a wobble. I think they will be. And also, I think in terms of the points, to make them favourites, I had 8 points in my mind. If they go 8 points clear of Man City, I think they will be title favourites, man.
And TJ here says, nobody gave us a chance. Why the title Liverpool favourites?
That's waffle, bro. That's waffle, TJ.
I didn't think you'd win the league this year, but I said you'd be shooing for the top 4. But of course, TJ will give it the same energy that we all gave to Arsenal last year. The expectations change within the season. I agree. If they go 8 points clear of City with their squad and their manager, they become the favourites, considering we're more than halfway through the season. And I'm talking 8. Yeah, I'm talking 8 points. So 9 maybe on top of that, they become the favourites. This Liverpool team is fantastic. They're intimidating. They're dangerous. They're clinical. And they're so far, and it's going to be really interesting next 3 to 4 weeks because Mo Salah's out. And if he's out for 4 weeks, he's actually going to miss more football than if Egypt got to the final of AFCON. And then he's going to have him been out injured. But so far, they've demonstrated an ability to be able to win without him. And if they beat Chelsea without him, if they beat Arsenal at the Emirates without him, and I'm not too sure when Trent's due back, I haven't looked into it. If they win those games without those players, it's just the message that this team is absolute dynamite. And of course, there's question marks over certain players, and I still think they've got some holes to fix in transfer windows to come. But this is, I think, Klopp's building. There's a big question mark over Klopp. Can he rebuild another brilliant team? And I think he's in the process of doing that. I really do. And they could even win a number of trophies this year. Not ahead of schedule per se because they've won trophies prior, but before they're at the absolute peak of their power, they could pick up a couple of domestic trophies this year. They could win this Premier League. I think they're a shoo-in to win the Europa League. There's just nobody in that I think's on Liverpool's standard when they're playing well. And
Leverkusen could win it.
Leverkusen are there, to be fair. Yeah, you're all right about that. Leverkusen are in there. I forget they're doing so well, but I still think Liverpool on their day are just better than anyone in that tournament. They've got to go to Anfield on a night under the floodlights. They're going to get a brick or two thrown at their coach or whatever, or beer bottle or whatever else. But yeah, Liverpool for me, they're not favourites yet, but they certainly could be. Let's do some of these super chats here. This one says, let's say City are relegated to League 2, fined heavily and ruined financially. Would that not defeat the purpose of FFP to keep clubs healthy?
Not quite, because if City get relegated, that's because of fraud. So not really, bro. I'd love to defend myself there, but I can't really. If City get relegated, it's because we've been fraudulent. So
yeah,
it's not quite the same.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, the government would often say that it supports keeping families together and happy and healthy. But if I go and rob a bank and have to spend the next 10 years in prison, the government aren't hypocrites for taking me away from my family and damaging them, even though they say their job's to help families. You've got to take accountability for your own mistakes. How annoyed are you that you are not signing a DM or left back? I don't know who that's aimed at. Might be aimed at. I don't know who that's aimed at.
I know. I think he's asking me.
Oh, a DM LB. Yes, LB. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Not bad. I am. Go on.
Yeah. Nah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I'd like a backup DM because when Rodri's out, we seem to lose. But yeah, we ain't signing anyone in January, bro. So it's a bit of a shame.
Do you think Calvin Phillips to West Ham? Good move for him.
I think it's a good move all around, man. I think it's a good move all around. He needs to play football, man. That guy's had a torrid 18 months. Not good enough for Manchester City. I think him and Alvarez at West Ham could link up real nice. It's a good move all around, man. And option to buy apparently is going to be around 30 million. So we'll get a lot of our money back. 75% of our cash we'll get back. Thereabouts. So yeah, I think it's a good move all around, man.
Yeah, agree. Red Square says, will Simeone get a top job if he leaves Atletico?
Of course he will.
Yeah. Yes, he will.
Of course he will.
Edu is the issue. He's the sporting director and not a very good one. He just signs players that his friends represent. Cedric, Mari, Tavares, Vieira.
I don't think Edu's been as great as what people like to make out. I made that clear earlier, and I agree with Mr. Happy there, to be fair. I don't think Edu has been outstanding, and I think that him and Arteta are both in this together. Have told us that they're going to maximise the transfer window. Let's see if they maximise the transfer window in January and the summer. That's all I can say about it. For me, I don't think Edu deserves an amazing amount of credit that some people give him.
This is from Marco. Guys, bringing Big Ben's in. You are asking for trouble after Jesus won't be happy coming off the bench.
Jesus Christ. This is the problem we've
ruthless
got.
Streak, man.
We've got to get ruthless in this game, man. This is why we don't win anything. Oh, we get to keep Eddie because Jesus don't want to be on the bench. Oh,
yeah, bro, this sort of mentality, man, needs to change, bro. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's even an Arsenal fan, to be fair. That looks like maybe a potential City. Is that a City kit or something he's got on there?
Or Chelsea, one of the two.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
it was some plastic club.
Yeah. See ya. No, but honestly, this mentality's got to change, man. This is what I'm saying about football. If you make a mistake, admit the mistake, move on. You know what I mean? What's the point? You get a player in if you're just going to keep. So, for example, Højlund, yeah. If he stinks up the gaff next year, are you just going to keep on saying, "Oh, he's young, give him time, that the environment's not right"? At some point, United are going to have to go. Maybe it's just not the right signing. Maybe he's actually just not a good striker, and then you move him on and bring someone else in.
But this is the irony with what I call the TPFs, the toxic positivity gooners. I'm not saying Marco's one.
What did you just call them?
TPFs, the toxic positivity fans. TPFs.
I'm robbing that one.
Right.
One.
I love it. Yeah, I like it. But this is the thing. Man United and Arsenal are in a different scenario, according to them. Man United are toxic. So I can understand saying, no, we've got to stick with Højlund because once we fix the toxicity, it'll shine through. You can't say your club has fixed its problems, changed the direction you're going in, created a winning mentality, and then be worried about what about the pathways for these players? There is no pathways. If you're good enough, you're going to play because you don't have a toxic atmosphere. You fix the dressing room. Your culture's fine. So you should be able to handle competition. Man United can't. Listen, I'm a big fan of Martial until somebody challenges him for his position and he turns into a shrinking violet. Man United fans are, well, we shouldn't be bringing in competition for him. All of you get out. All of you go. No, this is imagine if Fergie, right, man, go back to 1999, well, 1998, summer 98. Imagine Fergie turned around and went, I'm not signing Dwight York because Teddy Sheringham might not be happy. I'm not signing him because he might not be able to give I don't know, Casper or Ben Thornley some more game time from the bench. It's just ridiculous. You buy the best available to you as and when you get the opportunity to.
You know what? Last time we won. You know the last time we won the league, our four forwards were Henry, Bergkamp, Cardew, and Wiltord, don't you? Right. And 99 treble winners had Dwight York, Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham, and I've forgotten one. There's one more. Solskjaer. They were the four they had. So what is this? All this Jesus has to sit on the bench. Yeah, tough. He does. He's part of the squad. Jesus.
But do you know what it comes down to, right? It's this. Have you guys seen the ITV documentary they made about Cristiano Ronaldo? I think it's a couple of years old now. I think he was still at Juve. And there's this part in it where they speak about about 15 years ago from now, they spoke about how there was a seismic change in the way football fans viewed football. And it became very Americanized where players became more important to fans than teams. And it's such an interesting moment. This woman goes into it in quite depth. And Ronaldo and Messi were like at the forefront of this, which is why they're so big and so popular. And that's what it is. People latch onto a player. It could be Mainu, it could be Saka, it could be Oscar Bob. And then the progression of that player becomes more important to some people than their club because that's where their stock is. And for me, that's the element that's got to change because I want all of my players at Man United to progress and do well. But if listen, if there's an opportunity to sign Rodri this summer, I wouldn't be going, oh, but what about Man Utd's progression? No, give me Rodri. Give me him straight away. I wouldn't care.
Well, there was that clip, wasn't there, going the rounds at the end of last season? Some guy outside Emirates Stadium saying, would you rather win the Champions League but you've got to sell Saka? And pretty much every single Arsenal fan said, I'd rather not win the Champions League and keep Saka. It proves the point, man. I don't know why that's happened. I don't know. It's weird. But...
I'll ask a question to Man United fans watching, and then I'll answer it. If we could have 4 more Champions Leagues to our club's history, would you eradicate all living memory of Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs and Sir Bobby Charlton ever playing for us? But it makes us the most successful team domestically and the most successful team in Europe in English football history. Would you give up the history of those players at your club for Man United to have 7 Champions Leagues and, of course, 20 Premier Leagues or 20 league titles? And I'd ask the same question to you. Would you, if you had to eradicate the memory of Aguero, Haaland and KDB, they never existed at City, but you had 2 trebles rather than the 1, would you take it?
Yeah, well, obviously it's trophies, isn't it? So you take the trophies.
Always take trophies, man.
And this is the irony here. Never history matters, but you've missed it. The player histories do matter, but the club's history matters more. If you could have 4 more Champions Leagues, that would matter so much more to me than the legacy of Scholes, the legacy of Charlton, the legacy of Rooney, the legacy of Giggs, which are important, but they're only important because of what they won for us. So it's...
You've got other memories. You're not just eradicating all memories. You've got 4 more Champions League memories that you've got.
It's crazy to me. Like, again, I love a lot of our players and their history, and there's certain players I when we're in our when we were winning things. If someone said, "Would you sell Rooney?" No, but if it guarantees you win the Champions League next year, yeah, probably then, because I want the trophy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. Man like Marco, I hope you're well, bro. He says, City kit, guys, but I'm a Barcelona all the way. How are you Barcelona all the way, but you're wearing a City kit? And yes, I agree with bringing in Big Ben's, but as a player, I wouldn't be happy. If the players aren't happy with it and they're sulky and they're not right for your club, they should be sold. That's the long. And also, again, one thing I'd change is stop wearing other clubs' kits. You are supporting. You're literally, by buying something with Barcelona, you're supporting their endeavors, and they're a competitor of yours. Don't do it. PSG have got a lot to answer for, making people buy rival kits. It's crazy to me, but that's me. Noz here said, yes, in a heartbeat. Of course, as much as I love those guys and I respect them, I want my club to have more trophies. KSE will bring in who is cost effective, not elite.
What's the phrase? Buy cheap, buy twice, is it?
I say cheap is expensive. That's my little phrase. Normally, I say that about car tires. You buy cheap car tires, you buy loads. Same thing.
That's true, though. That's true. Absolutely, you don't get the budget tires, do you? Because you're going to get like 2 or 3 sets by the time you buy the medias or the.
Unless all 4 tires need to go at once, and they're £250 a pop.
Well, Bro, yeah. I'm very fortunate. I've got a nice Beamer. I've got run flats. They're like £380 a wheel, bruv.
Crazy.
You know what I mean, I'm on mine. I'm on them until they're balder than I used to be, bruv. Do you know what I mean? I let them get low. I let them get low. Devil's advocate, Arteta is a fraudulent manager.
So there's a lot of people that don't like him, a lot of people that do like him. You got to get the in-betweens as well. I don't think he's had anywhere near enough time to be classed as a man. It's his first ever job, man. So I didn't want that at Arsenal. I'm sure he'll be great one day. I'm sure he'll go and do great things. But for me, this season, there's going to be context to it, of course, but it could be his last time. But we'll see. It might not. The Cronkies might keep him wherever. Who knows, man? Who knows?
It may. Jake here says it all falls back to Arteta, is what he's saying.
This season it does. Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff he's done. 100%.
Who do you think are worse, the Glazers or Cronkies?
Jesus, that's horrendous, isn't it? Both awful.
I'm down with Glazers.
Glazers, because Man United could have been successful in the last 10 years had the Glazers appointed the right people in the right roles because they spent the money. So I think it's the reason Man United haven't been as successful as they should have been in the last decade is purely down to the Glazers. Whereas at Arsenal, there's been other stuff that's gone on. Yeah,
I agree. Look, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We are live again today after Middlesbrough versus Chelsea, so please make sure you're tuning in. Dan, LB, always a pleasure to speak football with you two gentlemen. To all our super chatters and everyone who's hit the like button, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.